loves? It is future me here to introduce this reading vlog. Here are all of the books that I ended up getting in my tabletop TBR game picks for December. So we're going to try and get through all of these in this video. I also have the second and third book in the Broken Earth trilogy that I'm going to try and read as bonus books for the months. We'll see how that goes. And since this is the last month of the year and the last round of the tabletop TBR 2021 game, it kind of doesn't really count the way it works at the moment because I'm not going to be giving you an update outside of this video. So as long as I read a couple of these books, I'll finish my last reward tracker and I'll be able to buy more books. And aside from that, the game is over. So I am going to be making some changes to the 2022 game, which will make it a little bit easier to track points and make it hopefully more enjoyable. So stay tuned for that. But for now, I guess let's get into the vlog. Hello! It is currently Thursday, December 2nd, and I know I look pretty crazy. I ended up bleaching my roots earlier today. I'm waiting for it to dry so that I can dye it. I wanted this part to be darker so that there's like an ombre type effect. It's probably gonna look janky, but whatever. I started reading Royal Holiday today. I've had this book for a while, waiting for the holiday season so that I could pick it up, and the time is now. I feel like this keeps happening. I feel like this is just wintry. It doesn't really feel holiday-y, even though like Christmas is a thing and winter stuff is a thing. It's a cheesy romance, basically. It's interesting because if you know me, I am a sucker for romance and I'm usually really forgiving, but I feel like the fact that I'm doing book reviews and then also reading different types of books that I tend to be a little bit more critical of, that I'm becoming a little bit more critical of romance as well. So I am enjoying this, but I found the actual intimate parts to be a little cheesy. I don't know. It's fine. It's cheesy. It's a romance book, but it's not like amazing or groundbreaking or anything. Like, I don't fully feel the chemistry as much as I would like, but I'm still enjoying this story. I still think some parts of it are pretty cute, and there are some aspects where I like really like it. I feel like overall it's lacking a little bit, so that is kind of disappointing because typically whenever I pick up a romance, I'm just like, it's a guaranteed good time whether or not it's a good romance, which I guess is still true, but I wanted to like this more than I am currently. Okay, so today is Friday, December 3rd, and I just finished Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory, and unfortunately, I didn't love it. It was fine, it was great, I enjoyed it for the most part, but there wasn't anything special. I didn't particularly love the connection that the two characters had. There were some moments that I really liked, but overall, I just wasn't there. Like, I just didn't care in the grand scheme of things what happened to the characters. But like I said, like, I'm not mad I read it. I guess I'd give this a low 3 stars or a solid mid-range 3 stars because I didn't love it or hate it. I just felt eh. Okay, so I just finished The Keeper of Lost Things by Ruth Hogan. It is Friday, December 10th. I just got back from my work's holiday party. I'm tired, my feet hurt, I'm feeling some kind of way. And unfortunately, I didn't really like this book. It has a really cool premise. I think some people will enjoy it. But in terms of the writing style, I thought it was pretty boring for a lot of the parts. It's like very slice of life-y. But then you had some really interesting elements, like there's a fussy ghost and a teenage girl with some special powers. There are some elements like that that I think are very interesting, but I feel like things just weren't tied together really nicely. Like, there were gaps in the writing, in the storytelling, in places that it didn't make sense to have gaps. An important thing happened and we get the leading up to it. So you get the anticipation and then the actual event just gets removed and then you get the aftermath of it as like this like afterthought, which is like, oh yes, and it happened. And it's like, excuse me, what? Like, why didn't we experience this? Why didn't you give us that? So that I wasn't a huge fan of. And the other thing that really bothered me about this is that there are two timelines or two stories that we're following for the main part of it. And one of them is the main storyline with the plot, with the, you know, the keeper of the lost things and his housekeeper, which you're mostly hearing from her perspective and kind of her life and her struggles and whatever. And then her having to deal with inheriting all of this stuff from somebody that she really cared about. And then there's a secondary one, which like you have no clue how it's connected to the first. And it's kind of just boring. So you're just like learning these random things about a couple of different people and you have no clue how it relates to anything. And it's not interesting enough on its own. Like don't get me wrong, I think the story itself could be interesting, but because I couldn't figure out how it related to everything, although I mean I could, but I guess I just wasn't super invested in the book. I was just all like, who are these people that just keep randomly coming up and why am I supposed to care? So that wasn't the most enjoyable thing. And then there were stories about some of the items that the guy who found them wrote. And although I do find that kind of interesting, part of me was all like, also, why do I care about this? Because it's not what actually happened. Like, I want to know what actually happened with all of these little items that they're talking about. I didn't like it. I think there was a lot of cool stuff. I think it had potential, but it just didn't do it for me. Now, how I'm gonna rate this, I'm not 100% sure because I didn't hate the book, but I'm teetering between 2 stars and 3 stars. 1 star is like I absolutely detest a book. 2 stars is I really didn't like a book, and I don't know if this is like I really didn't like it. I don't think that's the case. Like, it's super just bleh, which is what 3 stars should be. It's not good or bad, but I am almost feeling like this is a little bit more bad than it is bleh. If that makes any sense. It probably doesn't. But yeah, that's where I'm at, somewhere between 2 and 3 stars. Okay, so today is Saturday, December 11th, and I just started The Ones We're Meant to Find, and this is a sci-fi futuristic story about 2 sisters who are separated and are kind of looking for each other, but kind of in different ways. Like, one is trapped on an island and one is back in a city, and there are questions both of them are trying to figure out answers to, and it's very interesting so far. Like, surprisingly interesting. I claim to be not into sci-fi. I've enjoyed a couple of sci-fis quite a bit. This one I've heard mixed reviews about, where like some people just like aren't into it. So I'm interested to see if the sci-fi book that people who are normally into sci-fi are not interested is the kind that I am. I don't know. This one is cool because it does have like futuristic stuff, but it's very human. I feel like I have a disconnect whenever something has like a whole bunch of aliens. Like, there are like robots and advanced tech. Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting so far. I don't know how I feel about it though. So I'm all like, okay, that's cool. I'm invested enough to want to know more, but I'm not at a point where I'm all like, ooh, I'm loving this. Like, I'm not there, but I am invested. So that's definitely a good start because I am enjoying it for the most part. So I will give you an update when I'm further along. I think I'm only like 18% into this so far. Good morning! So today is Sunday, December 12th, and I have finished The Ones We're Meant to Find, and I actually really liked it. I was going into it assuming that I wasn't going to love it because I think I've heard a couple of negative reviews about this. Yeah, I was totally into it. I was really into it into the beginning. I will say there were some parts that got a little bit confusing because they started like throwing a bunch of characters at you, and I don't know if you know, but like I don't actually pay attention to people's names, so I have to like context clues who people are in most cases. Like sometimes I'll remember a name if it's like super easy. But yeah, so there were some things that were kind of thrown in towards the end that I was all like, who is this person? Oh yeah, that person. So I may have missed a little bit, but it didn't stop me from liking the book. I do think I would benefit from reading at least the second half of it again. It went in a direction I was expecting, but not that I guessed, if that makes sense. Like I was expecting it to go there. I was a little bit disappointed at one moment because I was thinking the focus was a little bit different than it was, and then the kind of ending happened and I was all like, yeah, I'm okay. I did want some things that the book didn't give. I still just enjoyed it. I was very interested. I really wanted to figure out what was going on. I was all like, oh, is this what's happening? Oh, it's not? Oh, it is. Oh, it's not? Oh, it is. And like trying to figure out what was actually happening, which I thought was really cool and fun. I really liked it. So I'm actually thinking that I might give this a 5 stars. I wouldn't say this is a favorite in terms of 5 stars, but I liked it so much that at the moment I'm thinking 5 stars. And I love this friggin' cover. Granted, I was thinking 5 stars even when I wasn't looking at the cover, so I'm not giving it a 5 stars because of the cover. But I do want to say, like, some people probably aren't gonna like it. Hello! Okay, so I just started the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I'm loving it so far. The writing style is really weird. I cannot think of the tense that it is, but it's basically said like you, where it's just all like, you do this, you do that. You pivot towards the sound instantly and then you stop. Yeah, so it's really interesting how it's told. Like, what the heck? So yeah, I think that's kind of weird, but I also really am enjoying it. Like, I feel like I'm super immersed in it. I also want to pop in and mention that the whole entire book isn't written like this. There's just some sections that are, so you get a little bit of that, and then you get like the normal tenses that a lot of books are written in as well. I also think it's nice because it's not super focused on the names. So it goes, so like it starts off saying like, hey, this woman here, her son died. And then later it goes, oh, it's this woman again, the one whose son died. And you're like, wow, okay, well, I didn't have to figure that one out. Like, I appreciate that as somebody who does not remember names to save her life. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's rough though. Like, so far, I don't think anything necessarily nice well, no, that's not true. There is something nice that happened, but even then it's nice clouded by not nice things. Like, the world is ending. Like, that's where this book starts. The world is ending, and it's supposed to be ending for the last time, and now we're going through everything that is happening, and we're learning about the world and the prejudices and the issues and the pains that people are going through, in addition to being introduced to these characters. And so far, I'm super immersed and super into it. I shouldn't say this because I'm so early on into this, but I have really high hopes right now. I'm like, no, don't! You're gonna ruin it! I like going into books one not knowing, and then also not having high expectations so that it could beat whatever my expectations are, but my expectations are kind of high, which is not good. Not good. But yeah, I'll give you an update when I get further along. This one's gonna be hard though, and these are like chunky, and I'm trying to read all 3 of them. So I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. Today is Tuesday, December 14th, and I just finished the 5th season, and I don't know how to talk about this. I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to continue with the series. Yeah, I'm like really invested. I really like the writing. I'm excited to read more from N.K. Jemisin, and just overall, like, I'm just so here for it. This seems like a book that I'm gonna want to read again in the future. Like, for sure, I'm rereading this trilogy, especially if I enjoy the whole thing, because there's just so much going on in the best of ways, right? Like, there are books where my biggest complaint is that there's too much going on, and I did not feel like this when reading this at all. I definitely was very engaged with all of the different kind of storylines that we were following. I never felt annoyed going from the different stories. I think the timing was really well done. I also really loved the things that we uncovered as we got further in and kind of the connections that we discovered. And yeah, just overall, there was a lot of things that I found very pleasant, which is interesting because this isn't necessarily a pleasant book. Like it talks about some pretty heavy situations, like the world's ending. There's obviously some different types of discriminations that are happening to the different types of people in this society that revolve around kind of magical abilities and things like that. There's so many hints at things that just, I don't know, just got me thinking. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it. Part of me almost wants to change it to a 5-star, but I'm like, no, I didn't feel that way for the whole entire thing. There was definitely a couple parts where, although I was very invested and I really wanted to know what was going on, parts of me was kind of all like, ooh, are we almost done yet? Like, I'm ready to move on to the next one. So I will say that it is a long book and there are some moments where it feels like a long book, but then there's also some where it didn't. Like when it ended, I was like, wait, no, you can't end. I'm not ready. So I don't know. I loved it. I'm excited to finish this. I'm so excited to see. Oh my God. I'm so excited to continue with this trilogy. Okay. This is not a really helpful review. I apologize. Good morning. Okay, so it is Thursday, December 16th, and I'm continuing with the obelisk. I started it the same day that I finished the first one, and then I didn't read anything yesterday. Oh my God, I'm loving this so much. I'm probably going to end up liking this more than the first one, which is saying a lot because I really liked the first one, although did have some moments where I felt like it was a little bit on the long side. I'm excited to see. I'm just, oh my goodness, all of you who commented on the tabletop TBR game when this pick came up. I'm so here for it. Okay, so I realized I have not given you an update. So basically, today is Friday, December 17th. I ended up finishing this, I believe it was the same day I gave the last update. So I finished that and then I started this one and I'm assuming that was yesterday. I'm like, I can't keep track of the days and I'm super far into this, but today was so busy I wasn't really able to read any more of it. This one has been my favorite so far. The endings are satisfying but also annoying because they're definitely like cliffhanger-y type endings, which makes sense because it's a trilogy. This one I've been enjoying, but I'm at a point where I'm not super happy with the pacing, which is interesting because like a lot is happening, but it also feels like things aren't happening. So I'm so close to being done with this, but I am pretty tired. So I'd like to finish it tonight, but odds are I'm just gonna listen to it a little bit longer and then finish it in the morning. I really want to know. I am really happy with this series so far, and I really want to read more from N.K. Jemisin. I'm loving these so far. Again, I will say though that this one is feeling a little bit slow, like, and we're so close to the end, and I'm like, is there enough time for what we need to happen? Like, I don't know. Oh my God, this is gonna be interesting. Okay, so I did it. I finished the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin and I absolutely adored this. This is a adult fantasy basically about the end of the world. The first one, it starts, this is the way the world ends for the last time. There's this really interesting magic system. There's these different timelines that you're following. You hear things from different perspectives and you're piecing all of this stuff together as it goes, and it was a good time. Overall, this is definitely it's great. Like, I freaking loved it. it. I give this whole thing a 5 stars. Highly recommend. Great writing. Interested in reading more from this author. I don't think it did anything phenomenal or amazing, but it was cool. This is definitely a series I am probably going to read again in the future, and I imagine I will enjoy it even more the second time. So right now, this is a low 5 stars. I imagine if I read it again, it'll probably go up. And then I also just started The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and I don't know so far. I really like the concept. I wasn't a huge fan of the introduction because I'll say trigger warning and let you know because it's how the book starts and it makes sense based off of the premise, but there is definitely a trigger warning for suicidal thoughts and things like that. Unfortunately, that is something that's a little bit difficult for me. I don't know how to say it. Like, I want to say, like, the beginning was a little upsetting for me. Like, I'm not here for that. So yeah, but it is the premise of the book. It's not something that's like so bad that it can take away my enjoyment of something, and it's an important part of this whole thing, right? Because basically after a death experience, you end up in the in-between of life and death at the Midnight Library, where you can look at the things that you've regretted and the options that you've done and see how your life would have been if you did other things. So I just got to the point where she's made it to the Midnight Library, which is where most of the story is going to take place. I haven't gotten into any of the stories yet, but like, I'm pretty sure what's supposed to happen is she's gonna start reading some of the different things that could have happened in her life if she had made different choices. I will say that the very beginning is a little bit of a downer, just in general. It's nothing seriously extreme. It's just there's a lot of little things that go wrong in her life. I'm very interested in seeing how this goes. And then with that, I only have one book left of the month, and today is Saturday, December 18th. So I'm killing it. Okay, so I'm having video editing / computer problems. More specifically, I had to update Final Cut Pro and it's being garbo. So I think I'm gonna continue reading The Midnight Library. I'm gonna be listening to the audiobook while I make dinner. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so I finished The Midnight Library and I enjoyed it. It was a little bit hard to read, as I mentioned, like for personal reasons, but overall, like, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. It went in the direction that I was hoping it would. I ended up caring about the character. I cared about what was happening, but I didn't love it. It was good. I liked it. I can see people loving this. It's just, I didn't. I don't know. I don't, like, there's not a good reason. So this for me is a good 3 stars. All right, and now that we got that out of the way, I need to start The Dead of Winter. It is Sunday, December 19th. This is the last book on my TBR, but it is a physical read. So I think I'm going to try and read a little bit tonight. Fingers crossed. And that probably won't happen for a little while because it's 7 right now. So probably in a couple of hours. I think this might be short stories. I hope it's not, but I think it might be. We'll see how it goes. So hopefully I will read a little bit of this and I'll give you an update tomorrow. Good morning. So today is Tuesday, December 28th. We have a couple more days left of the month and I only have one more book left to go. And I ended up reading a couple of the stories last night. It is a collection of short stories, Christmas / winter themed horror stories for the most part. I do like the idea of it. I don't particularly enjoy reading short stories. I have one left, so I'm pretty excited that I only have one more to get through, and it seems to be a longer one, which I'm also excited about. I don't know, I seem to like the longer ones because there's more room for setup, which makes it a little bit easier for something to be scary. I think the first one was fairly good, but I think for the most part I'm not super enjoying it, unfortunately. Okay, I did it. I finished the last book of the year. It is Thursday, December 30th, and I physically read this one, and I actually struggled because it is a collection of short stories. I don't know why I have such a hard time with short story collections, but I do. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, part of me wants to give it a 2, but not a bad 2. Like, I didn't hate it. It wasn't scary. I didn't enjoy the experience. I didn't think most of the stories were scary, but I did find them interesting. Like, there are parts of the last one that I liked. I feel like the endings just never really hit with me with Keelan Patrick Burke. I really like his writing, but the endings just don't do it for me. The last one had a lot of tension and a lot of potential and just fell flat for me. So that's a bit of a bummer. And that's it. That's the last book of the month. I am not going to be reading anything else. So that wraps up this part of the vlog. I was successful with the tabletop TBR challenge, fortunately, for this month. Okay, so we have made it to the end of the final reading vlog of 2021. It's so fun in December being able to just say like, oh, it's the end of the year, the final whatever of the year, like, see you next year. I know that's like super cheesy and super silly, but like it is. It's a fun experience. So this month was interesting. We had 3 disappointments slash not my faves, and then 2 favorites. So I feel like these both are favorites for me. I really liked this, and then this is mid-range but high up mid-range. So yeah, that is my reading month for December. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am going to be playing around with reading vlogs in the new year, just vlogs in general, so stay tuned for that. Include this emoji to let me know that you made it this far. You can see more reading vlogs here, and I will catch you in the next one. Until then, bye!